she's got to love cats as much as I do.
If she didn't love the cats, I couldn't even be with her.
It's a deal breaker.
No question, it's a deal breaker. Yeah.
Hi, Basil, however you pronounce your name. My name is Mary Jo Susan, and I do currently live in the heart of the Midwest. You identified me as your only fan on the last episode of the Joyspiracy Theory. I thought that I would correct that misconception because I have 10 adorable cats, and they're all huge fans of the show. I'd actually say that your biggest fan currently is my kitten Snickers. Anyway, I'd like to thank you for helping me to regain some joy in my life. I'm currently dealing with some marital issues because, oops, I married a Nephilim. So, thanks for helping me to recognize the importance of having joy. Bye. Basil. Yeah, anyway. Bye.
Hey, everybody. Whoa. Hi, everybody. This is your buddy Basil here, with a frog in his throat, and so I'm. Here's an intro. This is the intro. In the biz, we call this the intro. Oh man, this is not off to a good start. Anyways, folks, in this episode of the Joyspiracy Theory, we have Mario, the Vigilant Christian. Many of you may follow him on YouTube. He's got a very awesome YouTube. Very awesome. I'm so good at words today. He's got an awesome YouTube channel called The Vigilant Christian. He's also got a whole bunch of other channels just based around living a great Christian life and waking up to all the things that we talk about. And I got to sit down with him, and we had a wonderful chat here. And I hope you guys like it, because I did too. And I got to learn a lot about Mario that I don't know if he's really talked about a lot. He may. It's a great part of his testimony. But as usual, we always talk about cats and what else we talk about? Nature and fitness and health. And I think we even talk about the ladies. So there you go. That'll be fun for you guys. Anyways, so get ready for that. But before the episode starts, just want to thank everybody for leaving reviews on iTunes. There's been a few more reviews since the last episode, and I know a lot of you here are listening to me and you're like, okay, good. Other people are leaving reviews. That means I don't have to. Well, you're wrong, okay? You're just wrong. I'm sorry. I'm here to let you know that you're wrong. Just because other people are leaving reviews doesn't mean that you don't have to. Well, I guess you don't have to, but you should, because it's awesome. So go to iTunes. I believe I should now be on Stitcher, working on the Android apps and all that kind of stuff, or on YouTube. And wherever you're listening to this, take a moment, just a quick moment, and give a thumbs up or a star or a like or whatever they do on the thing you're listening to this on. And, that's and then on top of that, leave a review, like you type some words in and let everybody know, because that really helps the podcast get out there. Lets, some other people know that there's joy to be found in the world. Okay, good. Yes, I can hear you all typing right now. Thank you very much. So go do that, because if you don't do it, nobody will. And that's true. That's true in some way. Anyways, we don't have to get too deep on that. But here we go. Okay, here's the episode. Let's go.
Hello.
Mario.
Basil. How's it going?
It's going so good. How you doing, buddy?
It's going awesome.
Good.
Really.
Good. I'm seeing you got your little profile picture here, looking all sharp. Got your, I think that's a Bible.
Yeah.
With like you're either wearing a robe or like a shirt with just tasteful one button open.
I like robe better. I think the robe.
I'm just in my study with my La Biblia. So what are you grateful for today, buddy?
I'm grateful for the opportunity to be on the Joyspiracy.
Yes, correct answer.
Honestly, it's really awesome. Like I said, I just think this is really cool. So I'm really happy to be on.
That's true. Thank you so much. You know, you've been such a great supporter, just verbally, you know, and it means a lot. And obviously, we got some plans in the future, but I'm super glad to have you on, buddy. You know, I've always you got a lot of followers out there. You got a lot of internet humans paying attention to your face.
Yeah.
And you know, you've always kind of had that air of biblical joy about you, and
Awesome.
I just want to affirm you in that, and I enjoy it a lot.
That's awesome. Thanks a lot.
And that's one of the reasons why you're here.
For sure.
There's a lot of other reasons, but those are secret. So anyways, how you doing today? You just kind of doing your thing, pumping out some rad YouTube videos?
Yeah, I did that this morning. Went to the gym, spent time with friends, you know, living the good life.
Living the good life. Yeah, and just so everybody knows, I don't know who out there wouldn't know, but Mario is the Vigilant Christian with a wildly popular YouTube channel and just a great overall guy doing some good stuff with ministry. And we're friends on Facebook, so you know, I get to see all your cool little things. You got great little words of encouragement coming out all the time.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I see you also love the cats. You're a cat lover.
Yes. You know, I was going to save the cats for later on, but we might just have to jump right into it.
Let's get right into the cat stuff. I mean, that brings so much joy to both of us.
I know. I'm like, find myself wanting to kind of like censor or at least hold off on the cat stuff, but at least till like, just like a little bit later in the show, just for like the other cat lovers. But you know what? This is just what's going to happen. And your cat is like a semi-internet celebrity just because of what you got going on. But I will say, even without your influence, you got a pretty cute cat who has some serious internet potential.
Thanks. There's 3 of them, actually. I've got 3.
3? Well,
yeah,
you win the contest on that one.
I definitely get crazy cat guy, the crown. I don't know. I don't think anyone's gonna take that from me.
Mario, can I tell you? Okay, so I adopted Monty. I don't know if you've seen Monty around.
Yeah, man, I'm loving Monty.
Yeah, he's a real cool cat.
He's a cool.
So I got him probably close to a year ago now, and it was probably about 4 months ago. Again, I'm constantly like revealing embarrassing things about myself on this podcast, so I'm just gonna keep it going. I like kept visiting the Humane Society just to like say hello to all the cats, and like the people who volunteer there like know me, not by name, like I won't reveal that information to them, but just at least by face, and they just like wave at me as I come on, just because I come in and spend time with the cats. And last time I was there, and this made me have to like stop visiting the Humane Society, there was the most pitiful, like gross, like legitimately gross, like I don't even know what it is, like a Himalayan. Is that a cat? That's a type of cat, right? The big furry ones.
Yeah.
So it was like this super furry cat, but it had been shaved all over its body because it had been like picked up off the street, except for its head. And it was the most scrawny, like pitiful looking thing. And I just couldn't let it go. And it smelled terrible. It was the worst thing in the world. And I almost brought it home.
Yeah.
But I definitely spent like way too much time in the Humane Society, like in those private little rooms you can just hang out with cats in.
Yeah, well, that's where I got 2 of mine.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm like you. I can't go because I'll end up bringing them home.
Right,
so
exactly. I had to stop
myself
going
off
and I had to have a serious conversation with myself of like, okay, I'm like a single dude. I live alone. I can have a cat, like that's fine.
Yeah.
But if I get another cat, like that is the crazy cat guy lemon. Like,
I went over that.
yeah, and I'm glad to hear that I wouldn't have been alone. So
No.
I might reconsider that.
Two's not that bad. Three,
No.
that's been like pushing it, but
Right.
I still might get a fourth one day. I've stopped saying that like this is my last cat because like every single one, that's what I said.
Just
so.
no shame in your game.
That's it.
I did get a fish recently, and
I'm actually wanting to get one too.
dude, it's actually kind of nice. It's more than anything, like I haven't really bonded with the fish. We haven't really gotten to cuddling or anything yet, but more than anything, me and Monty just stand in front of the fish tank together and just stare at the fish for like
That's so
10, 15 minutes at a time. So
well, that's why I want to get it. I'm sure like the cats would love it, right?
yeah, yeah. And you know, there hasn't been any attempts to like devour it yet, but I'm keeping an ear out.
Maybe Monty's plotting it behind your back.
Yeah, he's a pretty crafty fellow for sure.
Is he?
Yeah, he is. I've yet to figure out what he's thinking at all times. So tell me about your new kitten, because there are pictures of it all over the place.
Yeah. So my oldest is my girl. She's Tally. I got her like 2 years ago. And then because she was crazy. When I first got her, like she would like jump at your leg and just attack any limb or anything that she possibly could.
She's the wild card.
Oh my goodness. And I was like, it was crazy. I couldn't even handle it at one point. I'm like, this cat's either going to chill out when I get a new cat or like, I'm going to get rid of it.
Or it's going to eat me in the night.
Like, that's it.
I'm going to wake up missing fingers.
So then I got my majestic Yojo, this male cat who's just like, he's like a majestic lion, I swear. He's just like, everyone says that. They're like, man, this is the most like majestic, awesome cat. And he knows how to pose. Like he'll sit there and he like practices this like lion majesty.
Just looking off over his kingdom.
Yeah, exactly. Eh? And he came into the picture and he was like, she bet him up for 3 days, literally,
Right.
like just got out all this pent up tension that she had. And then after 2 days of like beating him up, she finally like started flicking him and loving him. And now they're inseparable.
Well,
and,
boy cats are like a lot chiller, don't you think? I think that's a pretty common thing.
And recently, I always wanted a Persian. So those two I got at the OSPCA, but I've always felt like I wanted a fluffy Persian.
Right.
He's half Persian. So, but I went out and picked Yeti out, and he's so cute. He's
what an awesome name.
Yeah, he fits it, bud. He's the Yeti monster, man. He does some crazy stuff around the house, but it's so cute. And it's funny, too, because you could tell the day that he became a man and like... It's true because like he would get bullied by the other cats. And then one day it's like, he's like, no, I've had enough. Like, I am going to assert my dominance. And like, he would like go to eat. And if he wanted to eat, he'd butt their heads out of the way and he'd start munching.
It's kind of like when Simba learns to roar in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. And I swear, I joke because it's almost like he thinks he's a Yeti monster. Like in his mind, like he's like 10 times bigger than he actually is. And he's always plotting to like attack the oldest, Tally. Like he's always like got these like
he's scheming how to take over the pack.
Oh yeah, like he'll hunt her down, bud, and you could tell like she's just like, come on, enough, like trying to like push him away and like just irritated with him, and he's just all out trying to take her out. And, it's hilarious.
That's cute. So Yeti, who's the furry little man, you posted a picture a little while ago where you and Yeti were looking pretty similar, and you were wearing just this crazy fur hat, and I don't know, like either a scarf or like a jacket with a big collar or something.
Yeah.
I mean, did you get that just so he could like attach to you and like think you're like, I am your mother now.
Yeah. Well, it's Canada, so we dress like Eskimos sometimes when it gets cold.
Oh,
so.
that's pretty awesome. I mean, it's a pretty majestic looking fur hat, I gotta say.
Yeah, I wanted to fit into the pack.
It is Canada. Did you go out and like hunt something? And
no,
that's probably the most American thing I've ever said. Yeah, Canadians, they just all hunt and skin their own animals. Like it's still the frontier.
Yeah, lumberjacks.
That's funny.
Yeah. That was actually his first vet visit. So he had this like grump face on the whole way home there, and he literally
he's got a grump face made for the internet.
I know. It's epic sometimes. And you know he's happy sometimes, but he's got this miserable look on his face.
His resting grump face.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. And he's your profile picture right now on Facebook. So if anybody wants to go see like the cutest grumpy cat you've ever seen, that's the place to do it. Does he have an agent? Like, are you trying to like get him into showbiz?
Maybe one day for sure.
All right. Well, I'll talk to my people. I'll see what we can do.
Yeah, man.
Maybe he can star in a cat-based sitcom.
Be awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. Well, I'm sure we'll get back to cats, but just so everybody gets a little bit of cat fever just at the beginning, that's where we're gonna start.
Awesome.
All right. Well, I mean, it sounds like life's going pretty good for you, man. You're hanging out with friends. Apparently, you got enough time for 3 cats. I mean,
yeah.
Everything's you're a good-looking, fit man. I mean, you're Canadian, so I think like all Canadians seem to have like a extra glow about them.
Okay.
I mean, what do you do? Are you a healthful guy? I know you have a YouTube channel or like section with a bunch of health stuff on it, right?
Yeah, there's an entire channel that I've been working on because I was a personal trainer before I started doing this, so I felt that So
you're that guy who's just like, just 2 more, come on, you got this.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, I hate it when they do that.
So I felt God just leading me to trying to get his children in a healthier state with my gifts and talents. So I've been doing actually a lot of content on that channel. So
that's
definitely
awesome.
Check it out. Vigilant Christian Healthy Living. It's on YouTube.
That's awesome. And I think here's something. The world is in an interesting place.
And actually, to bring that up on the Joyspiracy, the reason I started, I don't just have my main channel. Actually, I have like now 5 other ones. I have a manhood channel, a Bible study channel, my health channel. And, I just felt God speaking to me the very same way that he did to you, and like
right.
being like, this stuff's heavy. It's hard to digest, and not everyone's built the same way. Because when I talk about New World Order stuff to people, I could go all day long. Like I've got this extra gift of it doesn't really bother me as much as some other people. And what I would notice is when I would unload on people, they would begin to shut down.
Yep.
Literally, I remember some people would come to me and be like, Mario, next time, just take it easy on me, man. I didn't sleep for 3 weeks after you talked to me. I was so disturbed. I couldn't stop researching and looking at this stuff. Like my mind's completely blown.
Right.
And, like as much as that's good, I recognize there needs to be a balance in everything. You can't just put all that on people. And like you said in your intro video to your channel, it can get you to a dark place.
Right.
And, so I felt God just being like, you know what, start doing things that are more uplifting and encouraging people, you know, and keep exposing the darkness. I mean, we're called to do that. And, God is using that in our generation to really reveal a lot of things to people, including himself and the spiritual battle that we're facing here. But, life is beautiful. There's joy, there's happiness, there's cats, there's working out. There's time with friends. Like we are in a fallen world, but God's given us grace. There's still so much beauty and joy and so much that we can experience here that I like you, don't want people to get into that dark place.
Mario, thank you. Thank you. Because,
well, that's why I want to be on here. This is so important. So, and I really hope that, my listeners and your listeners can share this video and get it out to people, because this is as important, if not more important than exposing that we keep a joy about us. We're supposed to be the light of the world. And if we're not glowing and shining and expressing the joy of the Lord, what testimony do we really have? Right,
exactly. And researching these dark things and getting real deep, hot and heavy in the conspiratorial type realms, or even just the Luciferian influences in the mainstream, which you do such a good job of exposing, along with a lot of other people. But it's like we put so much importance on exposing darkness, which is important. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Right.
But there's like this this real heavy balance that needs, and most people, are too consumed with the darkness to like really think about it. Like, not
Right.
that they don't want to be joyful, it's just that their mind space is taken up so much already.
Yeah, they're
That
focused too hard on it.
right. And so yeah, with your other channels, I mean, that's fantastic. And those are some really important. I want to talk a little bit more about health, but first, how are those other channels like being received? Like, are people latching on to them? Are they kind of getting the message, or
Yeah,
is
for
it
sure.
kind of sparse?
No, well, I don't think it'll ever be as far-reaching as what I'm doing on my main channel, but I don't really care about that.
Right.
It's more about whoever wants to follow the health, channel, or whoever wants to follow the encouraging Bible channel. Like, I just put it out there for everyone. And actually, I think my lowest one is like at 4,000 subs, and on average, they already have 10,000 each. So
Right.
they're growing, and I really feel called. Like, eventually, to be honest, I feel myself, I'm going to slowly lead away from exposing these things, and I want to go and become a pastor and really get into the scriptures, and
Yeah.
eventually I want to just 100% focus on encouraging and building up the body of Christ, and
Right.
like I'm looking for a good discipleship program to lead me into being a shepherd and stuff. And evangelism is great and I love what I do, but I feel called to something later on. So this is kind of like a transitionary phase for me in what
Yeah.
I do.
And you bring up a good point, which is seasons. I mean, that's some pretty standard like Christian rhetoric that we're all going through different seasons.
Right.
But I mean, it's really true because I mean, with Canary Cry Radio, I mean, we went 3 years of just straight up exposing darkness, and and people who listen to this show know already that I made it about. I mean, less than a year. I made it less than a year before, like, really steeping myself in all the darkness and stuff really took a hold. Not like I became a Luciferian, but it was just, like, really depressing and, like, anxiety causing and just a huge bummer.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just noticed other people going through the same thing, and so I had to be really intentional about kind of getting that joy back and refocusing. Now, a lot of people, they might not think about it so much to be intentional, but I mean, what was your journey like when you I mean, you've got like close to 1,300 videos out now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of videos.
Yeah, I've been working hard.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you kind of, did you have a similar situation? I mean, were you always so balanced, or how did that work out for you?
No, so I started the new channels a year ago, and that was after the Lord kind of spoke to me on that, and it was just I felt him just being like, Mario, like, I don't hear an audible voice, but this is how I've interpreted it. Just kind of like, he's telling me like,
it wasn't audible
it's not a
voice,
balance.
but it was some golden plates that floated down from heaven.
yeah.
The
Joseph Smith stuff.
the usual. I'm sorry to interrupt. All right, keep going.
That's awesome. But I personally started to feel off balance, and I would just encourage the listeners as well that in what you're doing in the Christian community on YouTube, that you have a balanced, content. You go and see all sorts of different things, and not just always like, wow, this is like twisted satanic cult rituals, blood sacrifice, and like the heavy, because that'll weigh down on your spirit, and I think
so hard.
And I think also what's also important is for content creators like me and you and Gons and others out there is to recognize the need for this new kind of content that maybe isn't there. And I felt the Lord lead me, and that's why I have my other channels. And I can almost see that the Lord's been leading you in the same way, and that's why we are on this YouTube channel now, So I believe God is raising up on YouTube a new kind of content that, Christians will be able to come and be encouraged by, that won't be as, depressing and hard to handle and digest. It'll actually uplift them. They'll come and they'll get a good laugh. Laughing's great. I find that's the one thing. It's like, I love to laugh. I love to, like, that's one thing I love about you. You have a great sense of humor and stuff. So I'm like, you know, you go and you get into those communities sometimes, like no one's laughing. No, like they find it offensive to laugh.
Oh my gosh. The amount of emails and Facebook messages about like how I'm a bad Christian because I'm like taking these things lightly.
Right.
And here's the thing. I don't take the material lightly. I don't take myself too seriously. I do take the material seriously, but I mean, it's important to not take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, was there a point you said you started these things like about a year ago, right? The extra channels. Mm-hmm. I mean, what was it like sort of before you felt the call to balance it out? I mean, was there, for me personally, I mean, it was a very tangible, like, shadow of like the darkness.
Right.
And I think a lot of people feel the same way. I mean, was it like that for you?
Yeah. Well, like you said, I made, you know, over 1,300 videos, and a lot of them were exposing the darkness, and I wasn't creating balanced content even for my own self. And it can, as you know, it can be very time consuming to put the videos together, to research them and put them out there. And I wasn't, at one point, I really wasn't in my scriptures after a while. I mean, it almost, this stuff consumed me. And then God took me back and he's like, this is taking you away from me, you know? And I was like, whoa, okay. And just kind of took a break. I think at that time I took like a week off or something just to re-get focused on what is important. And that's God, you know, and joy and encouragement. I mean, the Bible talks a lot about encouraging one another, building each other up, you know, like, and it's not all about exposing evil and that stuff.
Right,
you know? So,
well, you make a good point because, you know, throughout doing Canary Cry Radio, there would be people who make comments like, why are you focusing on this dark stuff? We just focus on Jesus. And, you know, we would retort with, you know, expose the darkness. And so, you know, you will not fall victim to it or whatever the verse says. I should have it memorized, but I'm a bad Christian apparently. You know, and so we would kind of defend the fact that we are focusing on all this stuff. Right. And
I've done that too.
Yeah, exactly. And then it came to a point where it's like, okay, maybe these people aren't just like being internet dum-dums. Maybe they have like some sort of truth to them.
A point.
Yeah. So I would like to come out publicly and apologize to all those people who said we shouldn't be focusing on the dark so much. I think we definitely still should be. You know.
And I think that's important because then there's the other side of the coin where some of them don't want to look at this at all. Right. You know, and then the Bible does say, do not be ignorant of Satan's devices, because if you are, they're going to overtake you.
Boom.
If you don't know that the entertainment industry is corrupt and has the spirit of Antichrist working behind it, and it's, you know, it's like a lion trying to devour your children and our youth, you can get swept away by it. So we need to have an awareness. We need to be good watchmen that are vigilant against danger, but that can't be everything. I mean, there's so much more to the Christian walk than just being vigilant against evil.
Yeah. And you know, you make a good point about the entertainment industry because it's not even, you know, it's almost sunk into my spirit in a way. It's not necessarily like I'm not going to watch TV because that's the devil's tube. But it's I do that voice a lot, and I just want to make sure I'm not offending anybody out there. That's not any particular group of people. But yeah, so I lost my train of thought trying to defend myself. You know, but it's kind of sunk in my spirit where I almost don't even really have the desire to watch TV anymore. Like, it's not that I am purposefully trying to get away from it. I definitely did at first. But now it's just, you know, I just don't really need it. Now, there are a couple of shows that I can't seem to get away from. House of Cards, things like that. Thanks, Netflix. There's a promotion. I'm expecting a check from Netflix now. But other than that, you know, it's mainly just podcasts, which the majority of are, you know, glorifying God and stuff. But, you know, so it doesn't have to be a battle.
Yeah.
It ends up just sort of sinking in. And you start doing it the right way, which is, I mean, it was a gentle transition. It was good. So, I mean, did you have So you started going into this. You had to take a break, and then what? You come back after that week, and you're just like a new man, ready to transform the world.
Yeah, exactly.
It happened that fast.
That's it, exactly. Yeah. And so I created the other channels, and like I constantly get accused that like I'm doing this because I want the views and stuff, and like I find that ridiculous because like if I really wanted to, I'd have 6 channels like my main one, because you could literally talk about this all day long. I know I could.
Yeah, you know that's a great point, because it's from an economic standpoint, talking about, like, for instance, doing like a Super Bowl video. Now, I don't know, you may have done one of those or something, but it's like in this weird economy of exposing the darkness, like Super Bowl time is like rush hour for exposing the darkness, and just hundreds of videos come out or whatever, just a large amount. And I know Gons this year kind of boycotted it and then kind of regretted it afterwards, but people are just so interested in the new big darkness that's out, which is good. I mean, you should be able to do that. You should know what's going on, I guess. Yeah. But for me, and it may not be like this for everyone, I'm not putting down anyone who is in this season of their life, but for me, it's like, it's the Super Bowl. It's gonna be satanic. Like, it's the most watched thing in the world. It's a great place for, magical energies to go out, or satanic ritual to be observed. And so I just sort of expect it. Not to say that videos are bad about it. But
the thing that I try and do, and I'll restate here again, is encourage people that once you do have an awareness of this stuff, don't stay rooted there. My channel isn't for the Christian who wants to grow, the main one anyway. It's specifically for evangelizing, and I'm going to take opportunities like Super Bowl and Grammys and other satanic rituals that are going on in the public's eye to shine a light on this to new people. So I get people that come back and like, you're talking about the same things. I'm going to keep talking about it for the sake of reaching other people, but I would pray that those that get to that point and they're like, I get this, move on, and that's why I have the other channels. Get into the word of the Lord, find the joy of the Lord in your life, and live in that, and just once you know what I mean? So but there's still millions and millions that will be brought to this for the first time. Like my Super Bowl video went extremely viral, and it opened up the eyes to a whole new bunch of people. So now they're going to be investigating this and going through a little bit of a freak out phase and an awakening. But if you've already been there, this is like your 5th Super Bowl, and you're like, oh, they're up and at it again. Focus on the scriptures, move on in a sense, I mean, what is the knowledge of this going to do to help you? It doesn't serve you anymore. Right.
That's a great point, Mario. Boom. You just came at it like a lion. That's awesome. So, I mean, obviously things like your Super Bowl video have reached a ton of people. And so it's interesting to hear that you have more of like an evangelical, not in the denomination sense, but evangelistic, we'll call it that, mission to your channel. Because I know that's something with Canary Cry Radio. A lot of times we make assumptions about, the listeners and what they already know and where they are in their life. And that's something we kind of consciously have to fight. But the fact that you're doing it more of an evangelistic sense, I mean, what kind of do you get? I mean, when we get emails of people like, oh my gosh, this podcast opened up so much stuff I didn't know about, and it changed my view, and I'm coming back to the Lord from New Age or witchcraft, which are all things that we've heard and are incredibly rewarding to hear. I mean, do you get a lot of that?
That's what I get the most of. So when I started all of this, I was part of a church, and the pastor, he laid hands on me, and he really felt the Lord speak to him that I would be an evangelist. And he actually prophesied that I would be an evangelist and be used by God to speak truth to all the nations. And then flash forward a little later, like it happened, right? And I literally stepped out in that. And I've always been really conscious of the fact that that's been my calling, is evangelism. And evangelism is effective only if you're reaching the lost. If you're preaching to the choir as an evangelist, you're not doing a good job. A pastor is supposed to shepherd and take care of the flock, but a good evangelist doesn't seek to preach to already saved people. You want to position yourself where there's people who are unbelievers that are going to be presented with the gospel of Jesus Christ. So one thing is the main channel, that's what it aims to do. It's an evangelistic channel, and the amount of harvest that God has brought in over the years is mind-blowing. I mean, I receive on a daily basis messages from people that tell me God has used a specific video at a specific time. I mean, it's all the Holy Spirit, all the glory to God. I sit back and make the videos, and it's amazing to see God work. And he sends out those videos to the right person at the right time. And, I'll get that message after, and I'll get a thank you. And, I give glory to God, but it's amazing. It encourages me. This is why I do what I do. I have a heart for the lost. I really enjoy Ken Hovind because of his attitude towards evangelism. It's a lot like mine, where, my heart's burdened to just see people come to God. I grew up in a family that wasn't born again and didn't really know the Lord, and none of my friends did. So,
Really?
No, man. Like when I got saved, it was like Mario's in a cult now. Like he's weird. And
really,
oh yeah, it was really tough at first. But all my friends and family have made like crazy amounts of changes just by the testimony of what God's done in my life. I mean, he's done such a mighty work that people who knew me, I mean, they don't even recognize me anymore, and it gives glory to God. So
that is awesome. That's beautiful to hear. You know, and people know I grew up in the church. My father was and is, with some very short periods of time of exception, in the ministry, and my mother does the same thing. And so I was just kind of like born into it. Like it's just the culture. And I had my own journey to go through to come to the place where I'm at now. But I'm always really interested to hear like salvation stories. I almost don't even like that sort of language for it. But I mean, what was it like for you? What was your life like beforehand, and what really was it that turned it around?
Yeah, well, I grew up, like most kids, I didn't want to obey God or, any of that. I was partying and doing the wild living thing.
I mean, did you have a godly influence, or was it just you didn't know?
Well, we were brought up Catholic, but I mean, like spiritually dead, right? Like where, like it was a ritual. We would go every Sunday, and I didn't see the Spirit really working, and it actually, if anything, put a bad taste in my mouth, in the sense that like I saw a lot of hypocrisy, especially here in Canada. Even in my hometown, a lot of the priests were doing the pedophilia and stuff like that. There was a huge case that came out. Even judges were involved in child sex rings in the area and stuff, and it was being covered up by even police, and it was just huge, right? So I sat back as a teen, and I couldn't distinguish the legalistic Pharisees who aren't spirit born to the real truth, and that led me down the path of seeking my own truth and finding it. And I went into Buddhism, Taoism, the yogic practice. I became a yoga instructor, and achieved quote unquote different states of enlightenment, and tarot card readings, astrology. I mean, I went as far.
You were deep, bro.
Oh yeah, man.
You went in all the way.
Oh man, hardcore. I communicated. I was a channeler. I would channel information for people, give tarot card readings, draw up astrology charts, birth charts for people. So
you're kind of doing a spiritual leader type situation even when you were quote, in the darkness or whatever.
Yeah, actually, a lot of people thought I was a cult leader, because I would literally have like 20 people over at my house, and my friends would bring people over and bring them to me and be like, Mario, show them the truth. And you want to know what's crazy? I would tell them the truth that I thought at the time was that we were gods, and they would have what's called the consciousness shift or awakening, which is typically used in the New Age as a term to define being spiritually deceived by these fallen angels.
Right.
And I ended up leading like almost 20 to 30 people to this quote unquote state of consciousness.
So you're just a natural evangelist, no matter what.
No matter
into.
what. Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. So no matter what, I mean, when I believe, I go all in, and I went all in. I mean, I was as New Age as you possibly can get. I got so psychic at one point. I was able to like walk up to people if I was in a deep trance and really communicating with the spirit guides, which I found out later are fallen angels. I could walk up to you and ask you to choose a number from 1 to 10 in your head and literally get it like 99% of the time. It's crazy. Like one time I did it 20 times in a row, and like they freaked out. But that would be like, I would see supernatural things occur. They would even hold dowsing crystals. And I was so advanced in my yogic practice and with what's called prana chi, which is the life force that emanates from your body. I got so good at manipulating that I was able to move dowsing crystals without even touching them physically. And,
what?
Yeah. Oh,
Bro,
man.
You were deep cover.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I was like I was on the verge of practicing levitation and everything there. Like I wanted to go to India and like leave this, what I perceive to be like the evil culture of America and just go live in the mountains and meditate all the time with the Buddhist monks. Like that's where my heart was at back in the day. And I saw myself get into some pretty deep supernatural phenomenon by diving into the occult and the New Age and channeling these entities.
It goes to say that like if God had not intervened in your life, that you very well could have been a cult leader. And
I would be on YouTube, but I'd be like a spirit science.
Yeah, and there would be like people would gather in meetings all around the world with like a giant picture of your face wreathed in flowers. Like some sort of yogi situation.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because they do worship the gurus.
Yeah, I know. I've been just recently actually doing a lot of research on the gurus and stuff like that.
Right, because they're perceived as the enlightened ones, and
yeah, they're basically just more Jesuses.
Yeah, exactly. The ascended masters and stuff. So
that is so fascinating. All right, keep going, because this is really fascinating to me. And so you were really, I mean, that's about as deep as you can get in there. And so what happened? Like, how did God did like a
YouTube video,
a giant shepherd hook come down from heaven, or like
in the form of a YouTube video?
Wow. All right,
so
let's hear it.
I was in the New Age, as you know, with David Icke and that, you can still be researching the New World Order topics, but you end up thinking that the consciousness shift and all this stuff is the answer and the solution to the problems that we're seeing in the world. That there's a new world order being developed because they're trying to suppress our chakras and our energy so that we don't collectively come together in the age of Aquarius and, all that stuff, whatever.
Age of Aquarius.
Oh man, I used to literally sing that, bro. Like I was like, I was in, oh man, it's crazy. So, I stumbled across a documentary called Age of Aquarius, Age of Evil by Keith Truth.
Yeah.
And with Chris White. And that was the first time I had ever heard the Christian perspective on the New World Order. And it clicked, and my eyes, like the blinders came off instantly after that DVD. I mean, God used it by the power of the Holy Spirit to reveal truth to me. And I cried literally for 3 days because, wow. I mean, I was in an apprenticeship program to be a yoga teacher. I was taking Hatha yoga, and I was that was my career path. And, you had a lot of hope, and like, this is awesome. I'm going to help a lot of people. I'm going to be, and I had even communicated with the angels that I had, because I was into Doreen Virtue, and she's all about connecting to the angels. And I had been approached in a deep trance and meditation I'd had a third eye vision, and I was encountered by one entity that came to me, and he said he was Archangel Michael, and he was with all the other archangels and the ascended masters and Jesus and Buddha. And I was specifically chosen by them to awaken consciousness in mankind. And I was to start what was called Angel Army, and it would be a group of ascended conscious human beings that would be risen up in the wake of this new Aquarian age. And, so all of a sudden I see the Christian perspective and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, everything that I am into is a lie. Yeah. And for the first time, because here's the thing, before that moment, they always appeared to me as benevolent beings, you know, these beautiful angels of light who are so wise, who had wisdom beyond even my ability to comprehend. And, you know, they were helping me. I had one spirit guide that would help me with my finances, another spirit guide with my health, one with my love life. Like, they make you tap into a different principality with every single area of your life.
Right.
And they had only appeared to me as something positive. And after watching that, there was a dynamic shift, because I believe in the spirit realm, God sent some angels to come and do some battling to save me. And I cried and I cried, and I was just like, oh my goodness, Lord, like, this is nuts. And I okay, like, I accept this, and I want to accept Jesus. And, you know, it didn't just go over so easy, though.
Yeah. Well, being that deep in, as deep as you were, I mean, that has to be the Holy Spirit. Like, that cannot be just like somebody changing their mind because they heard another fact. You know what I mean?
No. And that's why, like, to me, when people talk about conversion, like, to me, it's like, I don't know, I was enslaved by demons and God came in the spirit realm and set me free and put his spirit in me, you know? And like, I know that because, like, the one thing is the entities, when I was revealed the gospel through this documentary and the truth, they turned vicious. And I mean, I had all sorts of crystals and, you know, like, items that have, you know, principalities and spirits attached to them in my house. And I had all sorts of doors open. Even one thing that I had gotten into was channeling, where I would put myself in a meditative state and I would literally feel these energies come in me. And I could auto write, I could do psychic readings, I could do tarot cards at another level. When these energies or these entities, demons, fallen angel, whatever, I don't know what you want to call it, but would enter me and start doing that. So I had literally allowed them in my body, in the temple. And, you know, when all this came and, you know, came to my knowledge, I started experiencing things at night, like, Chris White always talks about it there, when you're laying in bed and
sleep
you can't.
paralysis.
Yeah. So I started going through sleep paralysis because they were angry, you know. And I remember one time, because I had so opened up my third eye, like, the third eye was a major thing for me. I loved it because I was always about getting different vision and knowledge and understanding.
Just
from
the real
spirit.
mystical experience.
Exactly. I was really into that. And the third eye chakra was one where I heavily dabbled in and practiced for a long, long time. So I had an extreme ability to see into that part of you. And it's weird. It's almost like if you really, I remember the first time it like you stare at the top of your head and then it does like this little pop.
Right.
And it's almost like all of a sudden, like, if you close your eyes are facing forward. Well, all of a sudden they like turn inside and you start looking in the inner parts of yourself.
Yeah.
And it was like a kaleidoscope of colors, and I was being interacted by all these beings and everything. And so I had to really, really open this thing up, and I was sitting there making a protein shake, and I'm always
that is so funny. You're getting your pump on, and
so my third eye was so open that I was able to see things that was going on in the spirit that other people don't recognize and see, and shouldn't see. I mean, I don't encourage anyone to open that up. It was extremely devastating spiritually and emotionally and mentally afterwards, trying to heal that.
Were there any spirits attached to your protein powder? Just
No,
like
that's right.
wiggling their way into your muscles?
No, but I'd be making the protein in my blender, and what would happen is, like, I would see like this grotesque looking little demon gnome, and it would yell at me like, "Satan's not letting you go." And I'm sitting there making my protein shake like, oh my goodness, like I have opened the door right up. This is nuts.
Serious business, man. I'm just trying to recover from my workout.
Oh, yeah. And then I'd be walking in the mall and I would see them, all these little demons, like people that would walk by me, I would see very vividly, like, it's not happening obviously, but in the spirit realm, I would get these intense visions where they would go up to people in front of me and cut their stomachs open and like spew their intestines all over the place. cut their heads off. Like I was seeing some demonic evil stuff. And
that's like straight up oppression at that point.
Oh my goodness, because they did not want to let me go. And I just felt led. I'm like, I got to get through a church. This is nuts. And I'm like, I need to deal with this. Like, I can't believe I've allowed this. I don't know what to do. And so I went to a church in Kingston, and the pastor preached the gospel that day. And I knew right away. I mean, I was bawling when I heard the gospel for the first time. It's like all my truth seeking, because I started truth seeking when I was 16 years old.
Right.
And so this was almost a little over a decade later. I finally came into the truth, and I was like, oh my goodness, like this is it. This is the truth. Like, yes, I accept Jesus. I've been waiting for this my whole life. Like, it just resonated with the deepest part of my being. And I was like, I knew, and like I knew I was no longer a true seeker because I had found it, and it was Jesus.
Right.
And so that was a powerful moment, but it wasn't over then. What happened is
now, real quick, tell me what is your, like, obviously finding this Jesus guy was a huge relief at this point, because you were being oppressed in some serious business. I mean, what was that like before, and then during, and then what happened afterwards?
So, I mean, in that moment, it was just weeping. I couldn't I had trouble even holding my hand up. I was just weeping and overwhelmed with just this, like, wow. And kind of like, I felt like weak, like I had been on this crazy treadmill and it's like a spiritual treadmill. I was exhausted. I was spiritually, emotionally, and mentally exhausted. And it's weird because in the new age, you think it's all good, but deep down, you're really not. You haven't found true fulfillment. It's like this, it satisfies you for a little, it's like sometimes,
and
like
it's interesting, and you're discovering quote unquote mysteries, and
you feel like it's helping you, but ultimately deep, it's not fulfilling. It's not a spring well of water that overflows.
Right.
It wasn't the truth. And deep down, I knew there was something missing to it. And so when I found the truth, it was like, whoa, this is what I've been seeking, but this is the authentic. This isn't the counterfeit. This is the real. And I just remember feeling that and having that knowledge and awareness. And so it was just overwhelming. And they had a prayer line at the end of the church. They wanted to pray for people who, because I gave my life to the Lord. And one woman comes over, and she looked at me so intensely and just walks over with, like, she was on a mission.
Right.
And she comes over to me and she's like, the Lord told me that, you've been dabbling into the New Age and Buddhism and all this stuff. And I'm sitting back like, yeah.
Dabbling might be a light way to put it, but yeah.
yeah, I did a bit of that, you could say. And so I recognized right there, like, okay, God's working in this woman, like, how does she know these things? And she's like, well, I'd like to pray for you. I'm like, all right, man, I've done meditation circles, like up on my head for 3 hours. I'm down for a prayer, like, let's do this. Anything spiritual. This is cool for me.
Yeah.
And so she began praying, and I actually started manifesting demons right there at the church.
Woo!
And started speaking in weird voices, and like I lost control. My girlfriend said my eyes were rolling in behind my head, and all I remember was I was there in this moment, and there was like these forces fighting for me, and there was
like
a battle.
You didn't have complete control, because I've seen stuff like this. I mean, I've had a church life that includes things like this, but I've never actually talked to somebody what it's like when it's happening.
It's the weirdest thing. I can't even. It's like there's a part of me when I'm sitting there, I'm like, is this really? This is happening. This is actually happening. Yeah, totally happening.
Wow.
Like you're caught in the middle, and I could only come to control myself every once in a while because this entity would just possess me. I was demon possessed, and it would grip me so hard. I would speak differently. My eyes were different. And I remember this feeling where I was so angry. All I wanted to do was grab this woman. And I swear, still to this day, I feel like if I could have got my hands on her, I could have thrown her across, like halfway across the room. There was so much anger and demonic empowerment that I had.
That crazy exorcism strength.
Word.
Yeah,
no joke.
That's
and,
nuts.
And so, but I couldn't. There was something in the spirit realm that did not allow me to even lay a hand on her. I couldn't. Like I could feel that the thing possessing me wanted to do her harm, but there was a force more powerful than that entity working through me at that moment that was making sure that none of that was going to happen. And so all I was doing, they were telling me, call on Jesus, call on Jesus. So as I'm coming back, like it was like 1 second, I'm like, oh my goodness, Jesus, save me.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Jesus, please. And then, no, I'm not letting go.
Right.
And it just battled out. And after a while, they came out. I remember it was like a release of just energy, because that's really like, if you boil down there, you can literally have, in the New Age, you train yourself for clairaudience, clairsentient, right? There's a different realm of feeling where you can actually perceive these entities. And I literally perceived them clairaudiently or clairvoyantly, clairsentiently coming out of me. And then the Holy Spirit of God came in me and indwelled me. And after that, the pastor sat me down, gave me a Bible, instructed me. And, the third eye stuff that I was getting no longer happened. I still was oppressed for a while after that. I mean, they didn't let up.
They weren't letting you go. That was...
No. I, in my beginning walk with God, really, really learned about spiritual warfare. I got to live it. I went so deep into the other side. I dove, straight down into the spirit realm with Satan, not knowing what I was doing. That when I got saved in such a supernatural, powerful way, I became very conscious of the spirit realm and the reality, and I know a lot of Christians don't recognize that, or even some of them might be listening to this growing up in the church. You can't really relate, but let me tell you, the spirit realm that we talk about and we preach about and the word talks about is real. And in fact, is probably more real than what we have as our reality right now.
Now, I want to talk about that for a little bit, because that's a great point. I grew up in a Christian tradition in my church, history, that, the spiritual realm, it was something that was definitely recognized, and it was something that, we would kind of say the same thing. It's more real than this earth is. But most people don't really experience it in any way.
That's it.
And in a lot of ways, that's good, because, there's a lot of like nasty things that can go on there.
Right.
But in another way, I feel like if every Christian was able to like have the experiences with with the spiritual realm, which I've had my own run-ins with, and am now very aware of its reality. Right. But how much different would the church look if everybody was able, not able to access it in like a weird New Age way, but
aware, vigilant to the reality of it. It's happening whether we recognize it or not. But like you're saying, it would be good that Christians had a deeper awareness of this, so that we could really engage in the warfare
instead of just like a concept, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So I guess my question is now, and there's different theologies on this, but what is that like for you now? Do you have times or situations where that spiritual realm comes close to you again, or do you think that that's something for us to like, that's kind of God's realm, or
it's
what?
God's realm? Yeah,
it's not our place to kind of
you don't go in it
in a physical way.
We're not equipped, and that's what the Lord really kind of led me to realize later, is that the reason, what I was kind of questioning in my beginning walk is like, why doesn't He want us to go there? But it's like a father who has a child, and the child wants to do something, but the father knows it's destructive and bad. The kid may not truly comprehend why dad's saying no, but it's the same with the spirit realm. God has cut us off in a way. We don't see that. We were kicked out of the garden where we walked with God. We don't walk with God and the angels, and we don't see them anymore. There's a veil. There's something in between now. And it is to protect us. We are to engage in the spirit realm through prayer, through fasting, and, like living out Christ likeness. But like, we don't try and like summon angels and go into it in the New Age sense of the way of doing that.
Right. It's interesting, because there are some Christian traditions out there right now that, they do sort of encourage, maybe not necessarily like going out and, seeing in the spirit realm and then, I don't know, fooling around with entities or anything, but there is definitely because I don't know even how to explain it. Maybe like, because we're told that we're higher than the angels, basically, right? And some traditions have taken that to where we can like make requests, or maybe not even requests, make commands of angels to go out and do something. Or, I mean, what have you encountered any of that with somebody who has had such an experience with the spirit realm? Has that sort of part of Christianity made its way into your view at all, or what is that like?
I wouldn't say necessarily. I mean, when I'm in prayer, like if God's going to send angels, he's going to do it. I think we just need to, like, even in the scriptures, it says that he fights for us in a sense, so we pray to him, we ask for protection, we ask him to take down strongholds. If there's a demonic oppression, we pray against it in the name of Jesus, but I don't think trying to because some Christians will talk about like angels coming to them, and now they're working with Archangel Michael in the spirit realm and stuff. And
it's always Archangel Michael. That must be a busy guy, because apparently he's like appearing to a lot of people at the same time.
Yeah, and you got to test the spirits always when that kind of stuff happens. So,
right.
And the New Age and this realm wants to creep into the church and masquerade itself as Christianity as well. So we need to be on guard, always testing anything that's of the spirit realm, Did
you feel any sort of desire for that to be a reality? Because I can see how somebody would come from like a very heavy spiritual connection with the spirit realm, and then all of a sudden, if they're in Christianity and they're kind of expected to take a back seat to that sort of thing, it might, I mean, if anybody has an opinion on that, it'd be you.
Right.
Was that a desire, at least at the beginning, were you thinking you were going to start having, miraculous divine experiences with, the true God, or?
Actually, yeah. It's funny you bring that up, because in the first 6 months to a year, I was so confused. I mean, the New Age had just confused me to the uttermost, right? That's what it is. God is not the author of confusion, but you can bet that Satan is. And he had so mixed me up about truth and that even though I had heard the gospel, there was still a lot I needed to be instructed on. And for the first 6 months, I was practicing Christian astrology. I was I was practicing a form even of Christian Gnosticism, where I was looking at that and I'm going, you know what? Like, maybe these Christians that I'm going to church with don't really, like, the devil was always trying to bring me back. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
But this time as a Christian New Ager, you can be Christian and still use your crystals and call on the angels and use astrology and all this. And, at first I couldn't distinguish it. It took instruction from good godly men and teaching, and also just the Holy Spirit revealing these things to me. I think I even had my astrology book. It took like 6-8 months to throw it out, before I fully whoa, okay, I know that this isn't the proper context for that, but you can't take the new wine and put it in the old wineskins,
Right,
and I felt like with the New Age, I couldn't bring any. And I was trying to, at first, mix in what I had learned with the New Age with this new Christian belief. But as I started to move forward, I'm like, no, this is actually Satan trying to bring me back into my old ways and my old ideologies and stuff. So.
Yeah, because, it's interesting. Both you and I have, had the rewarding experience of hearing people being pulled out of the New Age or of witchcraft and things like that. And I could definitely see how that would be a tempting thing, because you've had these experiences and you know that those are real, and then suddenly if you're you find Jesus and you're expecting to have that sort of communion with the spirit world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It makes you susceptible to that deception big time. So
yeah. So but you held fast after a while and you got rid of your stuff.
Oh yeah, got rid of it all, and that was one of the things that God revealed to me early in my walk was like, you can't mix this stuff. You like this. Don't bring. I've all things new, old thing passed away, and let it go. Stop trying to mold it into me because it doesn't fit with me. I don't accept these things.
Right,
like,
and it does go into that like I want my communion with God on my terms type of situation.
right again. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting, man. I don't know if how much of that you've shared before, but I don't think we got that deep last time I talked to you.
No.
So very cool. All right, so now you're the Vigilant Christian.
Yeah.
You are the Vigilant Christian.
Yeah.
I mean, do you get a chance to kind of talk to people in the same situation? I mean, you must have just a lot of communication coming at you.
Yeah.
So, obviously people like you and I try my best to get back to as many people as possible. But you
It's
can't.
impossible for
Yeah.
me. It's after I got over 100,000 subs, it was like I would have to do that full time.
Yeah.
Like that would have to be what I do all the time is answering people. So
Yeah.
I try as much as I can, but it's not going to happen in this lifetime. It's not humanly possible. So.
Sure.
But I do get a lot of new agers that have been brought out of that. Well, ex-new agers that are now brothers and sisters in the Lord because of my testimony and the things that I've shared on that specifically. It's one of the next to the entertainment industry. Obviously, it's my testimony, and that's the other thing that really is in my heart to evangelize with. And God showed me like, okay, I've taken you out from that and I even wondered for a long time, like, why would you let me go through? Like, it was hell. I'm telling you, it was literal hell. Like, I was so lost, and I was like, why would you let me go through that? And then he just kind of revealed that, I'm going to use you and because now when I talk to people who are in that, odds are they probably didn't go as deep as me, and I can talk to a place of relating to them,
As like a former semi-guru, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Now, you mentioned you have a ton of subscribers. I mean, they must be. I mean, for those of you who are not in the know, when Mario, the Vigilant Christian, says subs, that's a shortened term for YouTube subscribers. And I don't even know. I think last time I checked, you had over 300,000 on your main channel, something like that. Is that right?
Yeah, this month I went over 325.
Now, here's something that I'd like to talk to you a little bit about, and that is on just the online spewing of grumpiness. Because I mean, even I was talking to Natalina from Extraordinary Intelligence about this Beyond Extraordinary podcast, and she, we were kind of talking about the grumps out there, the online grumps. And I've been a little bit lucky, I guess maybe just because this ministry is so new, that the negative side of it is very small for me. But me and Gons especially have gone out exploring recon missions to see what kind of negativity exists towards stuff like us. And man, you get the brunt of it. You're like a meat shield, I think, for a lot of us. The hate that I see spewed on your comment sections and like debunks Mario the Vigilant Christian, debunked and exposed, and like all this stuff. It is a feverish situation.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
So tell me, I mean, what is that? That's got to do something. That's not very fun for anybody.
No. I'm getting better at dealing with it, and it's especially in the last year and a half, it's gotten extremely bad.
Right.
And I think it's the spirit of gossip. And I mean, it's not glorifying to God in any way. I have my own personal problems and stuff. And, what happens is they'll take my shortcomings and then add a whole bunch of exaggerations or half truths and take it into places. So it becomes YouTube tabloids. There's a whole community within the Christian community here that has, in my opinion, completely lost their way. And in that sense, where they're not trying, if I am in error, it's not to restore me and build me up as a brother or sister, as the Bible commands. It's to condemn me to hell, to make all sorts of defaming false accusations against me. It's basically, you go through YouTube and it's like the YouTube tabloid section. And there's some channels dedicated to doing this on a daily basis to me. And, it gives me an opportunity to pray for them, to learn to love and pray for my enemies, and it's helped me to grow in mercy and grace and forgiveness for them. They don't know what they do. I just think of Christ on the cross and the people that persecuted and condemned him. And I'm like, you know what? Same thing here. And I need to rejoice. The Bible actually tells me that it's a good sign. I'm doing something right. If they're going to sit there and cast stones all day, it doesn't do anything at the end of the day. They just give me more attention anyway, and it brings more people, because you watch those videos, and if you're a real spirit-filled Christian, you're going to see that they're not speaking from love. They're not speaking.
Oh no! Somebody, and since we had you on Canary Cry Radio, I talked about Canary Cry Radio a lot in this podcast, but that's just what's going to happen. When we had our episode with you, we actually obviously had people coming at us, talking about how we shouldn't associate with this guy, and sending us 2-hour YouTube videos about why. And I'd get in 5 minutes, and immediately you can discern okay, this is not constructive. There's no redeeming value to this thing. This is just
hate.
And it comes from something that this is probably going to be the 4th episode that comes out, and I've probably talked about it in all 3 episodes before this, but there's a point when a person does a ministry or comes out and is serving God, and people are loving it, and that guy's just getting so blessed. You reach 100,000 subscribers. Oh, God is just blessing his ministry. The Lord is working through him. And then I'm still doing the research, trying to figure out exactly when it happens. But there's some tiny little line that gets passed.
And that's it.
And that's it. And suddenly it all turns around, immediately. And
it's true.
It goes from oh, God is just blessing this ministry to Satan has infiltrated his mind and is turning. And I'm like, Satan cannot be that good at taking a man of God and turning him around immediately, and just discounting an entire body of wonderful work that glorifies Jesus. And
Exactly.
I'm constantly surprised at how many people kind of get latched onto this. But a huge part of it is that spiritual tabloidism.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing. Probably the one thing on Facebook that I ever felt strongly enough about to post anything about, and this will probably get me in a little bit of trouble. Now, I'm not a fan of Rick Warren. I'm not a Rick Warren apologist. I'm not a huge fan of Elton John. Rocket Man's an awesome song, but that whole thing where they both got together and went and asked Congress for money for AIDS research and stuff like this, and I guess there was somebody made a joke about them kissing, and there's a picture of them holding hands, and the hatred for both Rick Warren, who admittedly there's apparently evidence out there to suggest that he is an apostate preacher. This whole thing, and again, I'm not trying to defend the guy, but to say that he's condemned to hell for holding the hand in victory, up in a victory pose because they got money from Congress to save little children's lives from a horrible, horrible, evil disease, and then instead of being oh great, I'm glad millions of children aren't going to die, to just turn around and be oh, well, Rick Warren is possessed by the devil for doing this sort of thing. That might be a bad example of what I'm trying to say, but it got me pretty upset. Not because Rick Warren is a great guy, but because Christians were focusing on condemning rather than some sort of victory that happened in the world.
And I think like one thing that I'm practicing on my channel, and I hope it comes through that way, is that if like when I do expose these people that, I come from a place of like they still have God's mercy and grace available to them.
Right.
And we need to seek to pray for them. I've heard some people who are literally like the people that I'll commonly expose and, bring to light certain things that they're doing or a part of. They will be like, "Oh, don't even pray for them." Like
Oof.
they're an apostate. Like, how do you know?
That's straight up Christian witchcraft right there.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus said, "Pray for our enemies," and you want to tell me not to pray for someone? What's wrong with you?
Right.
You're not obeying God. Get out of here with that.
Right. There you go. Get on out of here with that nonsense. Okay, so I want to know, Mario, the Vigilant Christian. What is your? In my opinion, it's important for people to have like an intentional journey for joy.
Right.
Whether that includes a lot of things, obviously, and someday I won't have to say this, but for now, in my opinion, obviously we're Christians here, and Jesus is the source of our joy and our salvation, and he makes our joy complete because we are in him, and so that I'm gonna give that a given. You're welcome to confirm that, but other than that, which is the biggest one, what are some things that you do in your life? To keep centered and stay joyful.
That's a great question. So obviously, we'll state the obvious: is following God, the joy of the Lord, all that stuff. But that's number one. But beyond that, me, and I think this is good for people who follow me to hear, and especially even the skeptics and the people who hate what I do in a sense because I expose television and that. I just found that when I was watching TV and I was part of the MTV culture and like growing up that way, I didn't have real joy.
Right.
And the Lord really led me to seek out different things that would bring joy. My cats are one of them,
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
And just talking about it, my little Yeti just came in the room there. He just opened the door like, "What's up, Dad?"
Hi, Yeti.
He's chewing cords. Bad Yeti. Come here. So, I think that in the culture that we live in the world that we live in, it can be so easy to be caught up in the big and the flashy and the Disneyland and the exciting big things. And, I always found that at a deep level, they never brought me true satisfaction or joy.
Right.
And spending time sitting on the couch with my cats brings me tons of joy. I don't watch much TV. I haven't bought cable in like 15, well, even when I was awake, and as a new ager, even I started to realize TV wasn't good. And it like even before God, I knew that. So, I started to really seek out different ways to entertain myself and to bring joy into my life. And one thing that's awesome about being a Canadian is going outside. We have this beautiful land out here.
Yeah.
So, I have great friends that we go canoeing and skating, snowboarding, doing stuff outdoors, and getting fresh air and just enjoying the beautiful creation that God gave us.
And I cannot stress that enough. First of all, Canada, that's awesome. Tell me if I'm saying this right. Is Banff in Canada?
Yeah,
okay.
That's in Vancouver. Yeah.
Yes, I got a buddy who lives there, and he's a photographer and just kind of for fun goes out and takes pictures. And every time he takes pictures out there, I'm like, what am I doing? Like where I am. I need to be I need to move to Canada. I don't even need a house. I'll just have a little trailer and just park it in a meadow because that is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen.
Yeah. And that's really like one thing about growing up here is like, that's all as a Canadian I need, like, just God's beautiful creation. Give me a little cottage and a canoe and some friends and, the Lord is with us. It'll be a great time.
Yeah. And please tell me you agree with this, which is, the Lord made this earth and it is the most beautiful thing there is. And maybe you don't live in Banff. Maybe you don't live in Canada. Maybe you live in some weird town in the middle of Nevada. And, but that's even a bad example because Nevada's got some really beautiful stuff going on.
Yeah.
But all it takes is just intentionally taking a second to go out and do it.
Right.
I think people intellectually know that like nature is good for you. I mean, science even says, secular science says spending time in nature, has a good effect on our physical bodies and creates happiness.
Yeah.
But intellectually, people know this, but won't take the 15 minutes to go take a walk. I mean, maybe you're at work listening to this. Maybe you're not. Listen to this while you're walking around in nature. It's going to improve your life.
Yeah, no, it will, for sure. And it'll bring you more joy. I mean, like you said, it's even scientific. We know now we have evidence to prove that these things are true, So, and if we're smart Christians, we would use the reason and logic that God gave us and apply what we're seeing in science and go outside. And, it's one of the things I'm doing on my health channel as well. It's not just exercise, but it's to encourage people to go outside to, live a more joyful, happy life, because that will bring you true health. Like everything we're talking about right here is going to bring a more healthy, joyful life to you, And
I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw a picture of somebody who like went on a hike, took a selfie on their hike, or like any picture of anybody out in nature. They're smiling. They're having a great time. Yeah. I mean, even the guy, who's the guy from Into the Wild? Do you remember his name? I don't remember his name.
Yeah, I can't think
but
of it.
I just saw like the last picture ever took of him. And I might have to look it up just to make sure I'm not getting this wrong. But the last picture ever took of him, like he's in the wild, he's skinny as a bone, but he's just kind of like got this smile, looks all nice and fun out there, and then he died like a day later. Yeah. But like being out in the wilderness was just such a joyful thing for him that he couldn't keep out of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so you got your nature.
Yeah, and
what else?
I mean, my passions, right? Like, I find that you need to create like healthy habits that are based on things that you really enjoy. Like some people can find a lot of joy in reading. I love to read and to study. Research brings me joy. I like my mom's cooking, so spending time with my mom, and my family. I got a decent family. They're pretty awesome. So, that they bring me a lot of joy. And
now, are they Christians now? I know you mentioned that not necessarily.
They're getting there. They're getting there. You know, I mean, it's from going from Mario's in a cult now to really being blown away by what God's done. I mean, like they wanted stuff for me growing up. Like my parents were still moral and, knew right and wrong and always tried to instruct me in the right ways.
Right.
But they couldn't do it. And then when God started to transform me, they're like, wow, God's doing everything that we tried to do. And we're just sitting back and watching Mario grow into the man that we've always wanted him to become. I mean, that's a powerful thing for parents to witness, especially when I was in high school. I mean, I was constantly getting in trouble with the cops, and my principal was calling my mom to the school almost every month because I was literally in what he would call the group of it's French, they're a group of 8, which was basically like me and my 8 friends.
How's your little gang?
Yeah, man. If anything, well, that's what they called us, because like if anything went wrong, they're like, it's got to be one of the 8 boys. Mario and his crew, like, there's drugs being sold. There was a fight at lunch. There's something going on. There's trouble. It's them. We can almost guarantee it. So I spent most of my high school like in that little black room, staring at a black wall, like being interrogated and like all this stuff. I was just up to no good all the time.
Right.
And so for my parents to witness the born again, like it's one thing when I told them I'm born again, and it was another when God in time showed that to them, that I really was a new man, and they started to see the fruits of that. I mean, that was a massive, powerful testimony to them that, wow, there's something to this. Right. I don't think they come to the place where they themselves are ready, but they're coming, and I'm almost feeling like they're at the edge there, and I'm going to have that talk soon. Like, okay, I'm gonna pressure you a little bit. Let's go. Let's go. Today's the day.
We got to make a decision here, folks.
Yeah. You ain't got all the time in the world.
Well, that's awesome, but they're very loving, and you've got to, you've even despite
Support.
all of the troubles, that it seems like family has been a priority for you, huh?
Big time, like a lot of parents would have gave up on their kid, and even parents around my parents were telling them, like, you have to give up on Mario. You can't keep bailing him out. You can't keep loving him and accepting him back and all this stuff. Like, disconnect from him completely, because to be honest, it was abusive to them, the way I was back then. I was self-destructive and destructive to the relationships that I would have, including the ones with my parents. And so even for their own health, people were trying to tell them to distance themselves from me and all that. So,
I think that's a great message too. I mean, because we got a lot of parents who listen to this show,
right?
And I
never give up. God can do amazing things.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because, like you said, it can be incredibly abusive sometimes, and the advice you're going to get from professionals in the world, and maybe even pastors and things like that. Well, it's God's job now, that kind of thing.
Right.
But I mean, your story is a great testimony to just not giving up on your child, I guess.
Yeah, I was actually, I'm working with my mom right now. We're going to do a video together to talk about that, actually, and like what she went through with me. And we're going to go dive a little bit more of that to encourage parents out there who, have a rebellious kid right now and don't know what to do and are at their ends wits and just, feeling hopeless and like things will never change, just to maybe encourage them that, God does intervene, and it may not be on their timing. I had to come to a certain season in my life to accept the Lord and to go through certain things that I had to go through. And it can take a while, so doesn't mean that if it hasn't happened today or this week or next month, God won't do something. What you have to do, in my opinion, as a parent, is continue to pray, continue to be there to guide and support and love them as Christ would love them,
Boom. That's awesome. There you go. There you go, parents. Don't give up. Because you never know. I mean, God might have a crazy, awesome ministry just hiding within your child who seems to be...
And that's exactly, because if I didn't go down that path, I wouldn't have the ministry that I have.
Right. And if your parents had given up on you, you might have not, gotten to where you are today.
No, I'd be on the streets, to be honest.
And 300,000 YouTube subscribers would not be getting awesome updates on the world.
That's it.
There you go. All right. So I have one last thing here written down on my secret piece of paper. And I hope it's okay to talk about, but you've been very public, and that is, the Lord's brought in a wonderful, lovely lady in your life.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So we started seeing each other recently, and it's awesome. I was single for a while, and I did videos about my breakup with my ex-fiance. It was tough. I mean, I wasn't ready in life, and I think if I can encourage any men of God out there that aren't married, that are single, it takes a lot of preparation to become, especially coming from where I was, part of being a bad boy was, I was destructive in relationships, very selfish, very manipulative, very controlling and things like that. And even still today, I'm having to work on these things, but the thing is my partner Deja right now, she is just awesome. She's helping me with all this stuff, and we've worked through so many things, and I've grown probably more than I've ever grown just being with her. Iron sharpens iron, so does one man or woman sharpen another. And, I'm really blessed by it. It's not easy because I'm not an easy person, and I recognize that, and I'm trying to work and deal with all that, but it's going well.
And how does she feel about you owning 3 cats?
She loves the cats.
Okay, very good. That's a good barometer for me, especially. Like, she's gotta love cats as much as I do.
If she didn't love the cats, I couldn't even be with her.
It's a deal breaker.
No question, it's deal breaker.
Oh, that's awesome. No, but I mean, it's hilarious. But let's be honest, it's true. Okay, well, that's awesome, man. And I recently, there was a call out to be her friend on Facebook, and I responded to the call. So there we go. And she seems like a very God-loving woman, which is important.
Yeah, one thing that God used me in the relationship to do is re-spark something in her. She kind of fell away a little bit into the new age, getting confused and stuff into that, but had a foundation of faith in Christ, and with me coming into her life, it was just like, whoa, boom, on fire for God, and she's really just been growing, and it's awesome.
That's great, and that's kind of seems like one of the great callings that men have, I think, when it comes to relationships, is to really make that a priority.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we're supposed to be spiritual leaders, right? So it's our responsibility to really set a fire in them to set them off for Jesus.
Yeah, and ladies, you also have a very heavy responsibility. I'm not leaving you out. I'm just saying we're a couple dudes talking here, so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's awesome, man. I mean, is there anything else burning on your heart before we kind of wrap up here?
Well, I just want to really say, man, I feel that this is an important ministry, so I want to just encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, man. Keep making people laugh, even if the grumpy Toms don't want to hear any jokes. We need it. It's times of extreme darkness, and it's only going to get darker. So we have a responsibility to really shine a light, and the joy of the Lord is our strength. That's how we're going to be strong. How can we be strong to stand up against the things that the enemy is going to do if we don't have any joy, or strength? So another thing too, I don't know if you ever saw the video by Chris White called, it was something about New World Order freakout syndrome.
No, but I totally know what we're talking about here.
You need to watch it because it's exactly what your channel is all about. People are experiencing the freakout syndrome, and the information is too much. And this is a calling that God is doing by the power of the Spirit to help with that, to bring joy to people so that they don't sink into unnecessary darkness, where they would take the information to be aware but not let it bring them down and make them depressed, because we have so much joy that we can access through God that there's no reason.
Yeah. Amen. All right, Mario.
All right.
The TVC.
Yeah.
I really am stoked that I got you on the show here, and thanks for making time. And I'm gonna have you back someday here.
Oh man, anytime, Basil.
All right, buddy.
We still got a sock puppet show to do.
I know we gotta schedule that up.
Yeah.
People were loving it was a split crowd for sure, but
the Grumpy Toms had to come out. How dare you try something different and original?
How dare you do something
light of a subject that is so serious?
All right, so there you go, guys. Get ready for some more sock puppets. You heard it here.
They're coming. All right, Basil. Have a great night, man.
All right, you too, buddy.
God bless.
Bye. Well, there you have it, folks. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. Me and Mario just had a great time talking and learning about each other and talking about some great things in the world and how to stay joyful and, get out there in nature. You got to do it. Canada. It's a great place to do it, apparently. It's not just all maple syrup up there. Oh, anyways. Sorry, Canadian listeners. I'm American. What can I say? Anyways, so I'd like to take a second and send out some appreciation to some brand new supporters of the show. I'd like to say, and everybody join me right now in thanking with all of our hearts Kelsey and Hillary, the two new supporters of the show on patreon.com. Here we go, everybody. Everybody do your usual clapping. Yes, very nice. I hear some cheers out there. Okay, we're throwing roses your way, Kelsey and Hillary, my gal pals. Thanks so much for your support. And for those of you who feel led to help out this ministry, you can go to patreon.com/The Joyspiracy Theory. And there you're able to make a monthly kind of pledge subscription thing. And soon there will be rewards, but you can just sign up now. And when I come out with the rewards, I'll just give them to you. You'll already be signed up. It'll be great. And so go do that. Pray about it. just ask the Lord if that's what you're supposed to do. Because Kelsey and Hillary did, and the Lord said yes. That's always good when God says yes to that. Anyways, all right, just to keep everybody updated, we are at $39 of support per month. So that's very wonderful. We're almost in the black, people. Okay. So there you go. Also, I wanted everybody to know that we here at the Joyspiracy Theory, we really want to work in prayer into our ministry, because that's a big part of any Christian life, and we want to make sure that as much cats and nature and health and all the other stuff we talk about, as much as we talk about those things, prayer is also very, very important. So if you go to thejoyspiracy.com, you'll see a prayer button, and you can sign up to be on our prayer list, and you will be contacted by our prayer team, and you can, give prayer requests or pray for other requests that come in, and we really want to build a little community around that, because that's just awesome, and everybody should be into that. And if you're not, don't make me do a whole series on prayer, because I'll do it. I'm telling you right now, I'll do it. Okay, good. All right, other than that, don't forget to leave a rating and a review wherever you are listening to this. And that's about it. I think that's it. I think so. I think we did it. We made it all the way through. All right, folks. So I made a call out to everyone the past couple episodes to send in some taglines. So I'm going to give my try here, and then we'll hear from a listener. See what came in. All right. So this has been the Joyspiracy Theory. So make sure to put a little sunshine in your pocket and put some joy in your face. Whew. It wasn't the worst one. I'll say that wasn't the worst. And if you have an idea for a tagline for the end of the Joyspiracy Theory podcast, you can go to thejoyspiracytheory.com, click on the voicemail button, and leave a little voicemail. Record a tagline, and maybe it'll be in an episode. Just really go for it. Don't think about it too much. I sure don't. Okay, here's one.
Hey Basil, I was just leaving you a message to say thanks again for your great new podcast. It's been a real blast listening to the Joyspiracy Theory so far. And I just wanted to leave a quick little suggestion for a tagline for you. So it's kind of short and to the point, but I was thinking, remember to share joy to show Christ. So anyway, like I said, kind of simple, but I hope it helps. And you have a joyful week, and God bless.